Thank you. Please be seated. Yeah, you get set up and just let me know when you're ready, okay? Good afternoon. We are back on the record after our lunch recess. We're in the presence of the jury. The defendant, Mr. Bahena, is present along with the attorneys of record. The state of Iowa may call its next witness.
Our next witness is Mike Fishel.
Step over here and I'll swear you in, please. Get you to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. I'll head over there. Be seated if you would, sir.
Too close to that. All right, we're good? Okay. All right. Agent Fishels, can you please state your name for the record?
Michael Fishels,
How do you spell your last name?
Fischels.
And how are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Department of Homeland Security Investigations.
And how long have you been a federal agent?
Since 1996, about 25 years.
Are you getting ready to retire?
I am.
All right, when does that happen?
At the end of July.
All right, very good. Can you just describe your duties with Homeland Security?
Duties include enforcing Title 18, Title 19, Title 21 of the United States Code, enforcing the Immigration and Nationality Act. Those codes involve drug smuggling, drug trafficking, alien smuggling, alien trafficking, shipping in and out of the United States, counterfeit goods, and of course immigration offenses.
Okay. And over the course of your career, well, let me ask you this. What's your current duty station?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And how long have you been there?
Since 2005.
Okay. What other places have you worked as a federal agent? What other cities?
Prior to Cedar Rapids, I worked in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Prior to that, I worked in Douglas, Arizona. And prior to that, I worked in San Clemente, California.
Do you speak Spanish?
I do.
How would you rate your proficiency?
I consider myself proficient in the language.
Okay. If there was a native Spanish speaker, could you carry on a conversation with that person?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your educational background?
I graduated from Iowa State University in 1995 with a major in sociology, a minor in Spanish, and a minor in criminal justice.
And have you been able to put that minor in Spanish to good use in your career?
Yes, I have.
Do you frequently speak Spanish with other persons in your job?
Yes, I do.
When did you become involved in the investigation relating to the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts?
I received a call for assistance from the DCI on August 19th of 2018.
And what was your role to be in the investigation?
The DCI had notified me that they were requesting our assistance from our agency for the following day on the 20th to canvass a couple areas in the area, specifically Erb Farms.
Was there any particular person that was identified to you that you were to be looking for in this canvass?
During a briefing prior to going to Erb Farms, they had told us that there was a vehicle that had been spotted, a vehicle of interest, and that they were looking for that vehicle and potential driver of that vehicle.
Did the potential driver of that vehicle have a Spanish name?
Yes, he did.
And what was that?
Cristhian Bahena Rivera.
And maybe you mentioned this already. What was the type of vehicle that you were to be looking for?
It was a black Chevy Malibu.
All right, so where did you go then on August 20th of 2018 in order to assist in the investigation?
We went to the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office for a briefing, and after that, we departed the Sheriff's Office for Erb Farms.
All right, and how many officers were present at the briefing at the Sheriff's Office?
I can't say exactly, maybe 20 to 25.
Okay, so you were going down to Erb Farms to canvass. That means what exactly?
To speak, one, with the company to start with, two, to speak to the employees or other individuals that may be on the property about the vehicle, about the disappearance, and anything that DCI was seeking at that point.
Okay, and in addition to that, you were hoping to find Cristhian Bahena Rivera?
Yes.
All right. Is this Mr. Bahena Rivera, the defendant, somebody that you knew prior to the 20th of August?
No.
What time did you go to Erb Farms on August 20th of 2018?
I believe it was about 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon.
And whenever you arrived at the farm, tell the jury what you first did.
I sat in my vehicle while agents from the DCI contacted the company owners. Once they were contacted, we were given the go-ahead that we could speak to anybody on the property, including the employees. At that point, I went with a DCI agent and began to speak to employees at the farm.
Did you go, was that agent Scott Green?
Yes, it was.
All right. So you did not enter the property of Erb Farms to talk to any workers without permission,
Correct.
which you say that you were granted, correct?
Yes.
At some point while you were at Erb Farms, was the defendant located?
Yes, he was.
Was he located by you or other officers?
Other officers.
Were you provided a central location at Erb Farms in order to speak to the people that you needed to speak to in the canvass?
Yes, we were.
And where was that?
It was a building that was centrally located on the farm, kind of a big open room. I believe I saw like the time clock there, a place for employees to hang up their coats. It also had what appeared to be a break room and maybe like a small locker room for boots and shoes.
Did this provide adequate space for you to speak with the farm workers?
Yes.
All right. At some point while you're at this central location, this room you described, did the defendant arrive?
Actually, he was there when I arrived at that building.
Okay. So where was he, the defendant, whenever you first arrived at the building?
He was standing with other employees in the larger room of that building.
Did you speak to him first, or did you speak to others?
I didn't speak to any of the other employees there in that room. I only spoke to him in the little break room, which was separated from the big room.
And were you able to speak to him in Spanish?
Yes, I was.
Were you able to understand the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Did he appear to understand you?
Yes, he did.
How would you describe his demeanor at the time that you encountered him at the building that you just described?
He was calm, not nervous, cooperative.
And the room that you met with him in, was it separate from the larger room?
Yes, it was.
Were you in there with him by yourself or with other officers?
I was in there with another DCI agent.
Was that Scott Green also?
No, it was not.
Initially, did you discuss with the defendant vehicles that were associated with him?
Yes, we did.
There were two, correct?
Correct.
You had indicated earlier that you were looking for a black Chevy Malibu, but was there another car that he was associated with him?
Yes, that day he was driving a Nissan Altima, which was parked at the farm.
Is that the first you'd heard of a Nissan Altima, was whenever he told you what he was driving?
Yes, it was.
Where did you ask the defendant where the black Chevy Malibu was located?
We did ask him about the black Chevy Malibu.
And what did he say?
He stated that the Malibu was parked at his residence or his trailer, which was located just down the road from the farm.
And do you know how far his trailer was from the farm location where you were at?
As he described it to me at that point, it was only about 5 minutes down the road.
Did you obtain consent to search the black Chevy Malibu?
Yes,
Who provided that to you?
Mr. Bahena Rivera.
Did you also obtain consent to search the Altima if that became necessary?
Yes,
And who provided you that consent?
Mr. Bahena Rivera.
Was there any other consent with regard to his residence that he maintained near the farm?
Mr. Bahena Rivera actually told me during the interview that he had received a phone call from someone seeking permission to search the trailer and or the Malibu, and he granted that permission or consent to search, but I don't know who he talked to.
Okay. So he had consented to have you search his trailer as well?
Correct.
Or his residence, I should say?
Correct.
So after the forms were signed, after you obtained the defendant's consent, did you ask him to come to the sheriff's office to be interviewed?
Yes.
What was his response to that?
He agreed to come down to the sheriff's office and continue an interview.
While you were in his presence, was there, let me back up. One more question with the car overlooked. So did you have a discussion with him as to who the black Chevy Malibu was registered to?
Yes.
What did he tell you with regard to that?
He said that the Malibu was registered to a female, his cousin, by the name of Areli.
So, Agent Fishchels, did you also talk, or was there any discussion with the defendant while you were in his presence about Mollie Tibbetts?
Yes.
Did you or someone else in your presence ask him if he knew her?
Yes.
What was his response?
He stated that he did not know her. He had not seen her, but he mentioned something about Facebook.
Was he asked a subsequent time whether or not he had known or been in the presence of Mollie Tibbetts?
Yeah, I believe he was asked again.
And what was his response?
I don't remember. I remember him specifically just saying that he did not know her.
Okay. Agent Fishchels, did you have any participation in the subsequent interview of the defendant at the Powesheik County Sheriff's Office?
No, other than taking an index fingerprint of Mr. Bahena Rivera while he was in the interview room there. I did not participate in the interview.
Okay. Did you continue to assist in the investigation?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
The defense may cross-examine.
Thank you. Agent Fishchels, just so I'm clear, Mr. Bahena was cooperative, right?
That's correct.
You wanted to search his car, and he said, okay, correct?
That's correct.
You asked him who the car was registered to, and he was truthful about that, correct?
That's correct.
He told you about a second car, the Nissan Altima, and that was true, correct?
Correct.
And before he even left his employment, he had granted someone permission to search his home, correct?
Correct.
And he had been made aware that this search was somehow connected to the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts, correct?
I didn't make him aware of that. Whether he assumed that or not, I don't know.
Well, at least the name Mollie Tibbetts had come up in conversation.
That's correct.
And were you the one who asked him for a cheek swab?
No, sir.
But he gave a cheek swab, correct?
I don't know.
Are you aware of any other employees at Erb Farms that day gave a cheek swab?
I'm not aware.
Now, when you asked Mr. Bahena to go to the sheriff's office, you recall that conversation, correct?
Yes, sir.
His employer was there as well, was he not?
Yes.
And Mr. Bahena agreed to go to the sheriff's office, but he wanted to clear it with his employer, correct?
That's correct.
Do you recall the conversation that Mr. Bahena said he would go so long as his employer approved, correct?
Yes, sir.
And his employer said he wanted to clear it with Mr. Mahaffey, an attorney in Montezuma, right?
Yes, he said he was going to call Mr. Mahaffey.
And you then conveyed that to Mr. Bahena, right?
Yes.
You also told Mr. Bahena that he will call the attorney of your company for you as well. You don't need it, but for him, he wants to. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, sir.
So you told Mr. Bahena he didn't need a lawyer.
I told him he didn't need the company attorney.
Okay. And after that, Mr. Bahena went to the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office and gave a statement.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have. Thank you.
State, have anything further to this witness?
One other thing. Whenever you talk to the defendant about, or somebody in your presence, talk to the defendant about Mollie, you recall that?
Yes, sir.
He was asked specifically, do you know her? What was his response?
I can't recall specifically or exactly what he said.
That's okay. Can I please approach the witness to refresh his memory?
You may.
May I stay up here, Judge, for the moment? All right. Agent Fishels, the question was, do you know her? What was his response?
No, I have never seen her.
And then there was a clarification question. Did you see her at any time? Do you recall his response to that?
No, I don't.
All right, I'll let you look at that as well. So the question was, does that refresh your memory?
Yes, it does.
Did you see her at any time, and what was his response?
No, not at any time.
He also said just on the television. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. That's all.
Any recross? No, sir. Sir, thank you for being here. You're excused. State may call its next witness.
State calls Scott Green.
Mr. Green, I'll swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Make your way over there if you would, please. Mr. Claver, when you're ready, you can proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you state your name, please?
Scott Green,
Who do you work for?
Division of Criminal Investigation.
And what do you do there?
I'm in Special Enforcement Bureau, which is currently the Gaming Bureau for the state of Iowa.
And how long have you held that position?
11 years.
Do you have any other law enforcement experience?
Yes, I came on in 1993 and started as a special agent, gaming enforcement officer for the state of Iowa, and then promoted within a year into in the Gaming Bureau at the time, and then transferred to narcotics for 11 years, and then 4.5 years for major crime unit with the DCI.
Can you describe your training and experience as it concerns your employment?
Had various trainings throughout my career through narcotics investigations, interviews, search warrants, entries. During a major crime unit, we went through homicide school, and various crime scene schools.
And what are your duties as a special agent, if you haven't covered them already?
Currently, I do investigations into the backgrounds for corporations that invest in Iowa gaming. So we do corporate interviews of executives and so forth and so on for their suitability with the state of Iowa, in addition to other criminal investigations that occur at the casinos.
Agent Green, on August 20th of 2018, were you asked to assist in a canvass of Erb Farms?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall when you went, approximately what time you went to the farm?
On that day, approximately 1:39 p.m.
And what was the purpose of that canvass?
To conduct a canvass of the farm hands and workers that currently are working at the Erb Farms.
And were you looking for any person in particular?
Yes, we were. We were looking for a subject named Christian and then looking for a black Malibu.
Were there other agents with you?
Yes, there were.
Do you know who they were?
Yes, I do.
Approximately how many agents were with you?
Approximately 6 to 7.
Did you get permission from the farm to talk to its employees?
Yes, we did.
Did you find Cristhian Bahena Rivera at the farm?
Yes, we did.
Do you speak Spanish?
Very little.
Did you have any conversations with the defendant at Erb Farms?
Just when I was taking and giving him a ride to the sheriff's office, we talked just about the weather, and that's about it.
I want to go back to the farm prior to your transport of the defendant. Did you find anything of interest at the farm?
I was doing an interview with a farmhand, and then that farmhand identified that Cristhian Rivera was going to be found in the milk parlor about 30 yards away, and identified a vehicle that he had driven to that property.
And what vehicle was on the property?
Brown Nissan Altima.
Did you search that Altima?
Visually did a search of the interior.
Was there anything in the vehicle at that time?
There were running shorts in the front seat and like a gray pipe in the back seat.
I'm sorry, you're representing the last one.
Gray pipe in the back seat.
And Agent Green, you said you transported the defendant to the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, I did.
Were you requested to do that?
Yes, I was.
Was anyone else in the vehicle with you?
Special Agent Joe Arian.
And do you recall approximately what time you left Erb Farms?
About 3:15 p.m.
And how long did it take for you to get to the sheriff's office?
Approximately 20 minutes.
Did you have any conversations with the defendant during that time?
No.
When you arrived at the sheriff's office, what did you do?
We went into the main lobby area where he took a seat, and then I took a seat to do finish my paperwork that I was working on.
Was anyone else present in the lobby?
No, Joe Arian went back into the sheriff's office to talk with the case agent.
Was the defendant offered anything to eat or drink?
Yeah, a short time later, he was offered I believe, a popper of water.
And you recall approximately how long you were at the sheriff's office?
Approximately 20 minutes or so.
And where did you go when you left the sheriff's office?
We returned back to the Erb Farms.
And where was the defendant when you left the sheriff's office?
Last time I saw him, he was in the lobby.
Was any other law enforcement personnel sitting in the lobby prior to you leaving?
No, there was not.
Do you recall the approximate time you left the sheriff's office?
Not off the top of my head. I would figure it's like 3:45, close to 4 o'clock.
And just to be clear, when you left the sheriff's office or the lobby, was there anybody else in the lobby other than the defendant?
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Defense may cross-examine.
Agent Green, when you left Erb Farms with Mr. Bahena, he didn't take his own vehicle?
No, he did not.
Why not?
I had no idea. I was asked by Joe Arian to ride him a ride to the sheriff's office.
And that's common practice for agents to give them a ride in their squad vehicle or their state-issued vehicle, right?
We have done that, yes.
More common than not, right?
We do have done that, yes, in the past.
So in this situation, when Mr. Bahena got to the sheriff's office, he's 20 minutes from his vehicle, right?
Correct?
Now, did you take a DNA sample from Mr. Bahena?
I did not.
You were present for a DNA swab that was taken from another individual, though.
Yes, I was.
Who was that?
The gentleman I was talking to was Monroe,
Chaidez?
yes, Chaidez, yeah.
And he was also an employee of Erb Farms?
Yes, he was.
Also an Hispanic?
Yes, he was.
In your briefing before you went to Erb Farms, were agents told to get DNA swabs, cheek swabs, from every employee at Erb Farms?
That was my understanding, yes.
Why?
To gather for information if we had to do evidence later, to compare evidence if the evidence is found.
Concerning what?
If there was DNA evidence found on a subject, on a victim, that we could determine whether that was the same subject to that case.
Okay, so you're looking for DNA to connect to the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts at this point.
That'd be my understanding, yes.
And you're doing what you agents call a canvas, right?
Correct.
And explain to me in layman's terms what a canvas is.
A canvas is when you go interview people regarding what they've seen and what they saw pertaining to your case that you're currently working on.
Okay. And to your knowledge, all of Brooklyn basically had been canvassed, right?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, had any tips or leads come in before the lead on this black Malibu concerning any Hispanic individual and the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts?
Based upon my limited time in doing the canvas, I don't believe so.
When the canvas was done in Brooklyn, Iowa, did agents get a DNA swab from every household they went to?
No.
But yet they went to Erb Farms and got a swab from every employee, right?
That was the understanding, yes.
And when you were there, every employee you saw was Hispanic, right?
Yes.
And how many employees did you see?
I assume there's 6 to 8 potentially.
And how many officers total did this canvass?
Approximately 12.
Mr. Rivera was cooperative with you?
Yes.
Had you had any involvement or any contact with this case prior to August 20?
Yes, we were assisted with the canvas in the previous days before in Brooklyn.
Did you take any DNA samples then?
No.
Were you interviewing people who were Caucasian
Yes.
and no one asked you to take any DNA samples from them?
Nope.
And who specifically made the call to take DNA samples from all the Hispanic employees?
I believe it was case agent.
That's Trent Villada?
Yep.
Did he give any specific reasons why he wanted DNA swabs from each and every Hispanic employee?
Not to my recollection.
Did you take a DNA sample from the owner of the dairy farm?
No, he did not. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And just so the record's clear, did you see the owner of the dairy farm?
I met one of the owners, yes.
Was he Hispanic?
No.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Freese. Mr. Claver, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Agent Green, did the defendant have his cell phone with him at the sheriff's office?
In my recollection, yes.
Did you observe the defendant using his cell phone at that time?
Yes, you did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Freese, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
Can we clear the hall? Members of the jury, we'll take a 10-minute recess at this time. Want to remind you of your admonition. You can leave your notebooks where they are, and try to be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Always clear.